Welcome to the Grand Review. This is the show that's all about movies and movie news. I'm your host, the man they want to see fail, Garrett Ray. And joining me, as always, it's my good friend and co-host, the man who they don't want to see fail. Everybody's rooting for you. It's Andy Delia.
Thanks, Garrett.
I had something else, but it completely left my brain as soon as we started
I hope everybody's rooting for me. That'd be nice.
I mean, I certainly am. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Basically, here's how the show works. We're going to do a spoiler-free review right up here up front, and then we'll get into spoilers. There will be time codes down below. We'll warn you before we get into spoilers. But yeah, you can find out if this movie's worth your time or not. This week, we are covering the movie that chronicles the last 90 minutes before what most people would consider the downfall of the American society. It's Saturday Night.
Really? Did people really consider that?
Well, no. I guess I'm more on the side of the standards lady in this movie than probably anyone else.
I would say that's when actually television came alive for me, because I probably was watching it at an age that I should not have been watching it.
Exactly. And that's exactly why the standards lady was there. And boy, she got railroaded.
Yeah, no, that was awesome, though.
So basically, Saturday Night is a movie that's all about the last 90 minutes before the first Saturday Night Live. Lorne Michaels is trying to get everyone in line and try to get the show going, and it's all about his crew being an open rebellion and trying to get everyone to come together in this last thing so they can actually make this show while the studio executives are all rooting for him to fail. And it's directed by Jason Reitman and stars a cast of people that I think really knock it out of the park. But Andy,
the casting on this was just unbelievable.
Yeah, there's even Dylan O'Brien being Dan Aykroyd surprised the heck out of me. He was doing it perfect.
I really didn't know who he was last night until I looked it up after we had gotten home.
The Maze Runner of all people.
But I've seen those movies. I just don't remember them enough, honestly.
Yeah.
But the one that stands out is Teen Wolf, the TV show, which I refuse to watch ever. But I was like, oh, he was in that. No wonder I haven't heard of him.
I've seen more of it than I want to. It is absolutely a teeny bopper show for girls who just like to drool over hot boys. That's all it is.
So it's brainless and no point to it at all.
Yes, it was. Okay. And I kid you not, my ex-wife's one of her favorite shows. Between
that's
that and
more of a
Vampire
reason
Diaries.
not to like.
That's not the reason why I don't like it. I think it's garbage. No. I thought it was garbage when we were married. It's still garbage now.
Vampire Diaries sucks on its own. No pun intended.
Yes, it has beautiful lighting. I will give them that. The lighting team on Vampire Diaries is they know how to make lighting look pretty. That's
more Twilight stuff that does not need to be done.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's all garbage. The CW should be shut down entirely.
And for the Flash, Arrow, and the rest of those DC things that they try to knock off,
just bad. It's just all bad. But we always start with your thoughts, Andy. Saturday Night. What do you think?
Definitely, this is my favorite comedy of the year. I really enjoyed this. I loved just everything that goes on behind the scenes for that. I loved how everything just happens chaotically. And I said this last night, and I'll say it again for everybody to hear. If Joker Folie à Deux had a fourth of the chaos that's in this film, it would have been a good movie.
Yeah, it would have had a normal level of chaos for a film.
Right. And just, I really like this movie just from beginning to end. It's not boring. It's paced well. Everything goes through just how it should. And the performances are phenomenal. For most of the people in the movie, though, I've never even heard of. Just the one kid I recognized who was the page from the Jennifer Lawrence film No Hard Feelings.
Yes. Yep.
That's the only kid I recognized.
I was trying to place where I knew him from. And Willem Dafoe, yeah.
Yeah, who's in the new Michael Caine, as I call him. He's in everything.
Yeah, I thought that this was a perfect example of the most organized chaos you will ever see. I think this is one of those movies that if you're into filmmaking as an art form, it's worth studying. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
Just there is not a single wasted second. It is chock full. I'd have to see it 3 or 4 times to really catch everying.
Yeah, I'm still. I know we didn't open it this week at the Grand. I'm hoping somewhere along the line we can still pick it up.
Me too.
Just because I want to see it again.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend any more money at Cinemark. Yeah, this is Sony has for the second time this year in a month, for the second time in a month, had one of the worst decisions either made by them or forced upon them.
So this is the reason why I was on a conference call before we came and started recording today, which is why we're recording so late, with the head of our film buying department for other reasons. But we talked about Saturday Night, and Sony's reason behind this, it's been a limited release for a couple of weeks.
Oh, really?
In New York, LA, and Chicago.
Oh, that's
and
right.
It hasn't done a single bit of business. Even in New York, it hasn't done anything.
Maybe try marketing it, you nunchucks.
Well,
I was trying. I couldn't think of a nun.
That's my response either. But he loved it too, and I was like, "Yeah, this is definitely my favorite comedy of this year. I could watch this several times and not get bored with it."
Absolutely.
Just like Jason Reitman also did "Thank You for Smoking," which is another fantastic movie that I absolutely love.
Yeah, Up in the Air is another one, and what's interesting to me is how different this is from Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Right.
It's such a different feeling, and it is always really exciting to me to watch a director who can master completely different feelings of a movie. Like I didn't look at this and go, oh yeah, that's a Jason Reitman film, because I'm familiar with Jason Reitman films. And like I've been in a Jason Reitman film. I was Men, Women, and Children. I was an extra, so it wasn't like anything important. But I was 3 feet from him while he played football with a member of the cast in between shots, and they were tossing the football back and forth in this like middle school cafeteria. And nice. I was not 20 feet from Ansel Elgort, and I'm pretty sure that was it might have been his debut. I can't remember for sure, but like I've been around the man. He's definitely he's a calm, cool, collected sort of director from what I can tell.
So I wonder if he's just like his dad.
Probably.
Because Ivan had that same kind of feel for behind the scenes stuff that I've seen on the movies that he's made. He was just about like that too.
Yeah. I mean, whether we like it or not, we all become our parents eventually to some extent.
In this case, I'm glad, because it gives me hope for filmmaking.
Yeah.
When I see, sold out shows of Terrifier 3 last night, and then our show, there was actually more people in that auditorium than I thought there would be.
In Saturday night?
Yeah, and gives me hope that, people really do want this kind of programming. And I'm trying, I try so hard here for the theater to get this stuff. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So far, it looks like Saturday night has a 1.1 million Thursday preview.
Which is not great.
But it only has a $30 million budget. So it is really doing a lot with a small budget. Like, this movie looks like way more expensive than it is.
Right.
I mean, the amount of chaos, the pandemonium, the amount of extras they've got, the whole thing, it really sells you on this feeling of this is the insanity of show business right before a live show. And it is. And I started as an actor, and I've done live theater performances. I've never done live TV, but I can imagine, adding all of the complication of cameras and everything, how much that would add to it. And this captures that feeling of, holy crap, we're about to go on, better than anything I have ever seen. 30 Rock gets really close. 30 Rock has some scenes that are kind of
I've
like
never
this.
seen that show, and I need to.
If you like Saturday Night, you will like 30 Rock. It's a little looser, but I mean, that if you like that behind the scenes kind of heck goes on,
I love stuff like that.
30 Rock's perfect for it.
And there's a new show on Max that's like that too.
Yeah, the franchise.
Yeah, which I need to start watching that.
Yeah, I haven't gotten around to it yet, but I saw the trailers and was like, that looks like the kind of thing I would enjoy.
Yep.
The thing is, though, I don't think that this is a movie that is only good for people who like behind the scenes things. I think it is genuinely like there is enough going on and enough character stuff that's kind of worked into it that you kind of like begin to care about some of these people.
Even for anybody that's watched any episodes of Saturday Night Live throughout the 50 years it's been on the air.
Yeah.
This is what goes on like right before it hits the air. So for that alone, watch it. And it's still a theater movie. This is it's going to be something that's going to be lost on streaming, to be honest.
I don't think that you would get as engrossed in that there are these long single shots where it's just the camera moving
amazing
through all of this stuff, and it's so incredibly choreographed. And seeing it in that, like seeing it on the TV, You go, okay, yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
going on, but when you see it on the big screen, it's like, oh, I can imagine being in that situation a lot
Right.
more because I'm like my vision is taken up by it, just like you are in real life. And I think that it is worth seeing in theaters for that. And I think that it has an incredible pacing to it, and you're introduced to so many people, and they give you just enough of each of them. That you're like, I get who you are, I get what you're about, and I either care about you or hate you. And,
Right.
And it balances that, which is like balancing on the head of a needle. It is so the head of a pin, I suppose. A needle doesn't have a head, does it? It has a pointy end and an eye.
I was not going to correct you on that, though.
Like a camel passing through the eye of the needle is trying to get me to say something correctly. And
I mean, for the most part, Lorne Michaels is not a great human being at all, especially
that's not what I've heard. Yeah,
with what SNL has become.
Yeah,
but it definitely makes me sympathetic for him when he was trying to get this on the air, because I probably should save this for spoilers. That
yeah,
the reason why Saturday Night Live was created to begin with.
Right. Yeah. I think that's yeah. We'll save it for spoilers,
Okay.
but I don't feel that bad for him. He's a dirty commie. Anyway, I think that I'd like to just really quick hit on a couple of the performances that really made this great, because we had Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase, spot on.
Yeah.
Perfect. I hate him
The
just as much as I
mannerisms,
hate
the
Chevy
voice,
Chase.
just everything.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Chevy Chase, also one of the worst human beings I've ever seen, and he is fully a sack. And I really dislike Chevy Chase.
Really?
I hope that they, because he's the worst kind of I've ever heard.
That's the most I've seen you use it on yourself.
I know.
You've started this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in a mood today, probably because I know Chevy Chase is such I'm not actually saying anything when I hit the button. Just
Well, you
peek
make
behind
me
the
look
curtain.
like an altar boy right now.
I know. Well, you know what they say about altar boys.
Oh,
Just kidding.
I was an altar boy.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, at the Catholic Church or otherwise?
Yeah, no, the Catholic Church.
I had no idea.
Yeah, I went to Catholic grade school and was not Catholic. And was an altar boy because there was only 7 boys in our class.
Oh my gosh.
So the pickings were slim. So I got drafted.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?
Our priests were normal.
Oh, good.
They were actually nice guys.
I loved his performance though as Chevy Chase. I think Gabriel LaBelle is the guy who played Lorne Michaels. He was in The Fabelmans, which I haven't seen.
Who was he in Fabelmans?
I think he was like the lead.
No, because Paul Dano was.
He was best known for his leading role as young aspiring filmmaker Sammy Fabelman in Steven Spielberg's.
Okay. Paul Dano, I guess, played his dad.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
That's another Spielberg film, remarkable film, but nobody went to
saw
see
it.
it.
I haven't seen it, and I'm a Spielberg I'm one of those
it's really
film
good.
people who really loves Spielberg. But yeah,
well, you'd probably like that too, because it's just a family of filmmakers too, and how they appreciate movies and stuff like that, which I can relate to.
I think I saw that was what it was about, but I was in the middle of.
And I saw
something.
that. I saw that here before I started working here. Like,
I always miss the good
Grand
stuff
Avenue had it for like I missed it in Austin. It popped up here, and I went like opening night.
Well, I'll get back around to it. It's gone on the list.
Okay.
But Gabriel LaBelle, I think this is a career making performance for him.
Yeah, definitely.
It is a performance that I think is so well metered out and like. You get the New York side, but you also get that producer side, and he's balancing both of those things. And I think that his performance throughout really sells you on the pandemonium is insane, but this guy's the anchor until he's not.
Right.
and you feel every little bit of that, and I think that it's so well done.
And it's very rare to see an ensemble film like this where it's a movie is the most of its parts.
Right.
And there's not one part of this that stands out more than another. They're all equal.
Yeah.
And I think the last film I saw like this was American Hustle, or that's the one that I remember.
I'm sorry, is this an ensemble?
Yeah. But yeah, just everybody is balanced equally. All the performances are fantastic. And you could pick out any one of them to be like a nominee for awards this year. Like any of them. They're just all really that good. And even the guy that played Andy Kaufman, who's not in the film that much, But I remember seeing that skit when I was 7 years old on Saturday Night Live. And just all that just resonates with me so much because it's part of my childhood.
Yeah.
Probably not that it should be. But, because my parents got divorced when I was 8. And when I went to, stay with my dad on weekends, he would let me stay up and watch that. And most of the time I fell asleep in front of the television. But there's iconic things about like that late 70s. And I watched it all throughout the 80s, even the bad 80s, that I just remember all of that so well. It's just great memories.
I wanted to bring up the cinematography on this because it's a gorgeous film. I mean, it is.
So did they use a Steadicam for all this?
They must have. I'm fairly certain. Normally, I can pick out the difference between a Steadicam, a jib crane, a gimbal, motorized gimbal. I can pick all that out like by watching the footage most of the time. This looked like Steadicam to me. I could be wrong.
They would have had to. Or that was my thought. Just getting, especially those closed-in shots.
Yeah, there's a floatiness to the Steadicam. Now you can there's a system called I think it's called the Trinity or something like that. But it is a Steadicam arm that goes to a sled, which is the thing that you normally see on a Steadicam. But then the head of the sled is not just a camera on a plate; it's actually a 3-axis gimbal. And so they probably were using that, but it was certainly not just like a person holding a gimbal like you'd see at a wedding venue or whatever. The cinematographer though on this, he did the last 2 Ghostbusters movies, so Afterlife and Frozen Empire. He did Dolomite Is My Name, and you can really see a lot of those same kind of 70s grunge sort of.
The Billy Preston shots were like that too.
Yeah. But he also did Baywatch, so we can't all win all the time. So.
Hey, you got to feed the family sometimes. I understand.
Yeah. But Eric Steelberg did an incredible job with cinematography on this. It looks so freaking good. It feels like it's from that time period. It's like if the people in the 70s were shooting on film but had some of the extra little niceties that we have now is what it feels like.
Reitman shot this on 16 millimeter film.
Was it on 16 mil?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So that's why it's still like, even though it's digital, it has that graininess to it that I really liked.
Yeah. It is such a good looking film.
Yeah.
And I just, you can just feel the warmth of the 70s. Like there's a feeling to the 70s that sometimes people, they do these look backs and they don't quite capture, and the film grain on this and everything. It's a beautiful film. And I just wanted to point that out because it's so hard. It's so hard to light a shot that moves that much.
Right.
It's so freaking difficult. And they had the advantage of being on a soundstage. So if you saw a light, maybe it's not that big a deal, but they weren't always on a soundstage. Sometimes they're in these back rooms and all this stuff. And every single bit of it feels grounded and realistic, but it has that beauty of cinema.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to point that out because
it reminds me a lot too of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood that Tarantino did. It has that same film quality and stuff that made that film stand out too. And I just love that stuff.
Yeah, I do too. I love film grain. I do.
Yeah.
I know it's a cliche. I know that filmmakers are always like, I like the grain of film, but I like it.
Digital filmmaking just has really taken that out of it. And sometimes I kind of wish it would come back. And these films, I hope it does more than what it did last night and throughout the whole theatrical run, and we just don't see it on streaming in 2 weeks. But
I really think that this is something that lots of people should go see. One, because if you love Saturday Night Live or if you love behind the scenes stories or any of that stuff, I think there's a lot in there for you. And then on the other side, if you're an uptight person who has, let's say, moral quandaries with most of the things that are being viewed on TV right now, then it's a great example for you to go or if you're the kind of person who's just kind of in the middle and you're like, I don't care, it's not that big a deal, it's just entertainment, whatever. This is a great example of how you can look at the behind the scenes of all of your favorite TV shows and realize that you are giving a platform to the worst human beings to ever be born. And I think it should open your eyes to that. And I'm not just talking about Chevy Chase, who is, of course, but also the other people. But look, it's good. It's really good.
It is.
It's really, really, really good. And I I love Wolves for different reasons. It's a different film, and I like. But for me, like these two are kind of on the same because of how different they are. Like Wolves is that metered, perfect,
right,
dance.
and more Pulp Fiction-y,
right, and
kind
then
of.
and then when you get into Saturday Night, it's like this is more complicated to orchestrate, even though it feels like chaos, and that's impressive in its own right. So
yeah, Reitman's really making a name for himself by doing, because he like Thank You for Smoking. The book is, from what I have heard, is the most unmakeable film, like book to film ever, and he did a fantastic job with that. I've never read the book for it, but yeah, that movie's great. And Up
I
in
need
the
to
Air,
see it.
Up in the Air is supposed to be the same way. Like the book is almost very hard to read, and that movie's just fantastic.
Yeah, Up in the Air is really good.
Yeah.
I have seen that. Funny enough, I haven't seen Men, Women, and Children, the one I was in.
I didn't even know you made that.
Yeah, most people don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it was how well it was reviewed or whatever, but I know that
Now I don't feel so bad.
It didn't do great for whatever reason. But
Probably because nobody ever heard of it.
yeah, well, the code name for it when we were, because I think it's based on a book, but it was Pale Blue Dot when I was working on it. That was the kind, and I was like, then when they announced, it's called Men, Women, and Children, I was like, why'd you get a code name for that? I don't even know what that is. But yeah, that one on a budget of 16 million, box office was 2.2. So don't feel bad, no one saw it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not going to say it's my fault, but I will take credit because at least that means I've done something with my life. You want to get into spoilers?
Yeah, let's get into spoilers.
Let's do it. All right, spoilers. My favorite part of this movie is watching Chevy Chase just get laid into by Mr. Television.
Oh, Milton Berle. J.K. Simmons does just such an excellent job on that, too.
He's always so
good. Because he's
good.
trying to hit on his fiancée, which is even better. And that girl's going home with Milton Berle than Chevy Chase.
Absolutely. And I also, like, knowing because I used to really like Chevy Chase a lot. I thought he was very funny, and most people did. But then the more I found out about his behavior behind the scenes on Community, for instance, the more I was just like, he was actually like just an incredibly awful person to literally everyone around him. Anytime he wasn't the center of attention, he made people's lives hell.
See, in my eyes, too, Chevy Chase has done more bad movies than he has good films.
Right, but he still has the ego.
Because, stuff like Funny Farm that I absolutely can't stand.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But then, I do like both the Fletch films. And of course, I like Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
But that's outside of that, there's not much else of his that I really like. Maybe Spies Like Us. But that's more for Dan Aykroyd than it is him.
Yeah, Spies Like Us was good. I read something about Spies Like Us. Like there was some weird behind the scenes chicanery going on that too. But
so the real life on that too with Chevy Chase on Saturday Night Live, he was only on the first season,
right?
Because he couldn't get along with any of them.
Yeah.
And, they show in the movie his main beef is with John Belushi. And he was replaced the second season by Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the other thing that I read was there was a show on ABC called Saturday Night Live with Howard Cosell. That's why initially Saturday Night Live was just called Saturday Night. And Bill Murray was on that show. And then second season, they brought him over.
Interesting.
From the show on ABC.
Huh.
Yeah, and then Chevy was like, I'm out. Which probably for the best, too, because then you couldn't get that famous cheeseburger skit from Saturday Night Live that I absolutely love.
I have a vague memory of that.
That's classic. Like, and it's funny, too, the film shows like John Belushi, even with that stage, like with a drug problem.
Yep.
And that he's just off his mind.
Yeah.
But my favorite scene of this is when Lorne Michaels is on the phone with Johnny Carson. And that, because I know from everything that I've read, Johnny Carson was an absolute jerk.
Oh, yeah.
And he was the biggest pain in the butt to deal with. And that phone call sounds like that they must have taped that and shot it word for word, because I really see that's had to have how it happened.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was that how Saturday Night became about was Johnny Carson didn't want to do, he wanted 2 nights off. So initially they were going to go to reruns, and then he didn't want to do reruns. And then somehow, Lorne Michaels and the rest of them got set up to do this show and set up for failure too, just like we said.
Yeah, because I think Dick in the movie says they want, it's a contract dispute. They want to show him that reruns are inevitable and to just get him to get over it.
Right.
So they want you to fail. So they're like, we don't have any other option. Sorry, we got to use the reruns. Yeah.
Right. It was used as a trump card against Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And just hearing Johnny Carson just kind of lay into Lorne Michaels, and Lorne Michaels isn't even paying attention to him, which is even better.
It's like, don't show John the camera. Don't show John the camera. Yeah. There's so many good moments in this, and
and it's good to see Robert Wall. I haven't seen him in anything in a long time.
Robert Wall.
He was in the control booth. He was one of the main coordinators.
Yeah.
Like, he's from one of my favorite movies from the 70s too, The Hollywood Knights. That
was his film debut.
Yeah, New Bomb Turk. Fantastic film, raunchy comedy, even before like Porky's and Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
And it's not like horribly sexual or anything. That's where Fran Drescher got her start in that film too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's got a great like 50s drive-in soundtrack to it.
Oh,
and
cool.
I just love it.
Yeah. Hollywood Nights. Yeah, I got to check that out.
Yeah, it's a cool movie.
Yeah, he was fun. Also, he got to spend the entire movie just sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
So good for him.
Rather than the kid that played Lorne Michaels, like running around every set possible.
Yeah, he was all over the place.
And I didn't even know that Billy Crystal was associated with it at that point either.
I didn't either. I remember because I was listening to him, I was like, he sounds just like Billy Crystal. But I was like, is that really, am I getting that right? And I turned to you, I was like, is that Billy Crystal? And you were like, yeah. And I was like, I don't remember him being on Saturday Night Live.
But he was in the 80s.
Okay.
Like he was probably Billy Crystal was part of one of the best seasons beside like the early ones that had the originals as it went along. Because the season with Eddie Murphy and Joe Piscopo was in between that. And then the one that had Christopher Guest, Billy Crystal, Harry Shearer, that season is just, Martin Short was on that too.
Oh, wow.
A lot of those are just fantastic. You know, that's where Spinal Tap got its start.
Yep.
Was the guys from that. And then that's how Rob Reiner made that film. And then I remember my dad's wife, we were watching that and Spinal Tap was the musical guest. And she was like, well, you're not allowed to listen to those. And I was like, they're not even a real band, you idiot.
And you're not even my real mom.
This is all a joke. And you're taking it that seriously?
Right,
that's even funnier, which made me like, and I told her, well, I've already seen the movie, so now what do you got to say?
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah. Man, so I do want to talk about one particular thing. So I hinted at it with my intro to this being the beginning of the downfall of American society. It wasn't. We were on the downward trend all through the 60s and 70s, and also probably every minute before that.
Watching little kids go
sucked.
see Terrifier 3 last night. That's the downfall of American society.
Look, let's loop back around to that. But I do think so. I just want to point something out because there's a big scene where there's a confrontation between Michael O'Donoghue, who was one of the main, he was the head writer on it.
Whatever guy played that, just brilliant. Awesome.
Perfect performance.
Yes.
Yeah. I the whole time I was sitting there watching it, and he does this thing where she's like, this pen has protected, the American society from violence and hatred and all this stuff. And he goes, what about infanticide? And she's like, what? And he's like, oh, it's just a $2 word for a parent who kills his own son or their own child. And then goes on and tries to compare that to the story of Jesus. And it's like, oh, you've heard this one before. And he thinks he's won because a bunch of coked out idiots freaking laugh. I just want to say, like, if you think that you're clever because you're able to boil down the story of the world's greatest sacrifice, the greatest sacrifice that humanity will ever see, the death of Jesus on the cross, if you think that you're funny or clever because you can boil that down to a misunderstanding, you're a moron. Yeah. You're a moron. And I was mad about it in the moment not because they were portraying him, because I'm sure that's exactly
because I was
how Michael
laughing at that
was.
And you weren't, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get it about this tomorrow.
Well, look, it was funny.
Yeah,
but it becomes less funny when you think about the number of people who think that that's actually a valid argument, and then you're like, oh God, I'm sick of this.
Yeah, but I'm against censorship too. So
I don't. It's not that I like censorship; it's that I dislike stupid people.
Oh well, there you go. I'm fully on board with that. Anti-stupid person, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, it was one of those things. It was like, And the reason I bring it up is because, one, to joke about, like, oh, you think you're clever, you're not. It's kind of a joke. It's kind of not. Whatever. But the other thing is that I think it is legitimately, the reason I wasn't laughing was because I was thinking about that is actually the attitude of so many people who make entertainment for our kids. And so even when they say it's not for our kids, right? On Saturday Night Live, for instance, this is a show that's going to television that anyone can flip to. Should parents be monitoring it? Absolutely. Will they always? No.
Yeah, my dad wasn't.
But they know that when they're making this stuff.
That's one thing I can actually thank my dad for, was letting me watch this.
Let me watch this.
Not for much anything else, to be honest, but for that.
One for dad.
Yeah.
but yeah, it does. I think it is actually a very good look at what goes on behind the scenes of all of the stuff that you think is nice and wholesome. And I think that that's something that parents should be aware of. Well, unfortunately, though, they're taking their children in to see Terrifier 3, which is a movie that you very famously refused to even show here because of the debauchery.
We're getting so much hate mail about it.
Are you serious?
Yeah. No, Maria showed me, like, Maria's like the assistant GM here. She showed me the emails that we're getting from this, and she's like, "Do you want me to respond?" I'm like, "No, just delete them."
Who's old enough, or who is young enough to think that Terrifier 3 is worth watching, and old enough that they're still using email?
and the argument is that, well, you're going to play Smile 2, but you're not going to play this.
It's different.
Smile 2 is going to be a different horror film than Terrifier 3.
Do I think that Smile 2 will probably be bloody and gory and stuff? Yes.
Yes, it will
Do I
be.
think that it will be rip a baby apart on screen and show the whole thing because haha lol giggles? No.
No, it won't.
But stupid people gonna stupid.
Well, and that's I just said, if we get any, like, don't respond to them. I'm not giving them a platform to be an argument for.
Yeah.
We have the right to play whatever we want to play.
Yeah.
And it's not just my personal taste either.
And right.
I do things with a business perspective. The problem with Terrifier 3 is the teaser trailer for it had me on edge. Mm-hmm. I didn't want the backlash from this community about playing it, and right. I feel we're just better off as a theater not even touching this thing.
Sure.
And
it's not that you're like the theater is averse to showing horror movies.
No.
Tonight, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is on the big screen, so it's not even
is considered a classic though at this point.
Right? Yeah. But the point is, it's not. Oh, we made decisions because we're prudes, which is what I would do. It's instead
or the GM before me.
The GM before you. But instead, it is like there's a limit. There's a limit to what should be.
Right. And I screened Terrifier 2 when I was working for AMC.
Uh-huh.
Did I throw up or pass out? No.
Yeah.
Was it revolting and repulsive? Yes.
Yeah.
And it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, which is even.
Oh, gosh.
And there's no story.
Right.
There really is no story. Like, Art the Clown shows up, chops up a bunch of kids, and then leaves. And then that's the end of the movie. So, and the whole thing is, this is going to be that in Christmas time, and you're in trouble when even the poster for this is Art the Clown with bloody and a Santa suit, and in his lap is a defleshed Jesus with a crown of thorns. Oh. And I'm like, if I got that one sheet, there's no way in hell I would put that up. I just don't want to have anything to do with it.
My perception of everything is a little colored by it being a rough week. I've been sick all week, so which is why my voice sounds this way. But like, you ever just want to give up? Because that just just the description of that poster makes me go,
but that makes me want to fight even more.
Yeah, I'm just tired of fighting.
I'm just not going to argue with people about why we're not going to play this. We're not going to play it. That's it. Move on.
Right? Yeah.
It's a movie.
And I'm again like. One of my favorite movies from the year is Wolves. I'm not as prudish as I probably should be, but geez, Terrifier
yeah. But
3.
Wolves, in the perspective of things, is not that hard R rating of a film.
Sure. But I'm just thinking about like there's our as humanity, there's our idea of what is right and wrong, what's good, what's worse than something else, whatever. And then for God, it's like there's sin and there's not sin, and it's each sin grieves me equally. So there is that where it's like, well, they do a lot of cursing and then they buy that sex room, which is probably not a good idea. If that doesn't grieve Jesus, I don't know what will. But anyway.
with cockroaches and rats and all sorts of God knows what. Don't take a black light to that place.
No, don't take a torch to it. But okay,
but I've stayed in places like that when I was in New York.
I am so sorry.
Yeah.
The worst hotel I ever stayed in was in Louisiana, and I had to get a pair of clamps to actually turn on the faucet in the tub because there was no handle.
Oh my God.
And I'm pretty sure I saw all manner of bugs everywhere. I slept in a chair with my clothes on.
I think the worst hotel I ever stayed in was here in Belton.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Do you want to call them out or not?
No.
All right.
The hotel down by 35.
I think I know.
Like we didn't. I don't think it was when you had there was something wrong with the water in our house.
Oh yeah.
And we had to stay down there for a night. And yeah, no.
Yeah.
I think I slept above the covers. I know that.
Yeah, the Louisiana one was bad on the inside, but it was worse on the outside. It was in one of those areas of Louisiana where you're like you're not far from a city, but because there's a line of trees that separates the city and where you're staying, you're just gonna get murdered, you know. And the producer on that, he bought himself a really nice hotel.
And the crew
there were like 4 crew members total, and we all got shoved in this terrible place while he went and stayed in this really nice hotel and was all swanky and stuff, and told us we were lucky we even got a hotel. Anyway,
camping would have been better than that.
Absolutely. I would rather poop from a branch in a tree than have to go back to that hotel.
Yeah.
Do you want to get back to the movie?
Yeah.
John Belushi, Matt Wood does an incredible
Yes.
job. It's a fantastic performance. There's so much cocaine and other stuff in this movie. The page who, he's trying to find John Belushi when he runs off.
Yeah.
That whole scene of him finally,
all he does is take a hit on a joint.
Oh, it's so funny because they're like, you need some help. He's like, no, that's okay. And they go, no, it could help. And he goes, that makes sense. Freaking
it's Paul Shearer too, which solves a lot of questions about Paul Shearer, to be honest.
But yeah, that's another one of those ones where it's just a long take. Like I wish I had started counting how many of these scenes are just one big long take, because it's masterful filmmaking. It's the only way that you could cut and add frantic stuff with the cuts, but then with this movie, if you tried to do that with cutting as often as something is just passing in front of frame, it would end up looking like that scene from Taken 3 where Liam Neeson goes over the fence with, I think it was like 17 cuts.
I don't remember Taken. I know I've seen it. I just don't remember the third one all that well.
If you haven't, just look up Taken fence scene at some point, and you will see it. And it's in isolation, it's one of the most hilarious things I've ever seen, because the editors are just like, he doesn't look like he's climbing that fence. I don't know. Try this take and that take, and they were like, which ones do we use?
All of them.
All of them. All right, moving on. Next scene. We're not getting paid enough for this.
Or, the shower scene from Psycho with Hitchcock is 32 pieces of film put together.
Yeah.
So, but you can't tell.
Right. Yeah. No, you can tell in
aspect.
Taken. You can tell.
Well, that's too, when you get to that number in those sequels, it's a film student with doing it for no money.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All the money's going to Liam Neeson and the guy who designs the poster. That's it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to kind of spoil for this movie necessarily, except for jokes. It's a lot of jokes. I think that it would be a disservice to try and repeat them ad nauseum, which is what I'd like to do, because they were very funny.
I didn't realize that Jim Henson and the Muppets were part of the first season.
I didn't either.
And it was something that they did solely for Saturday night that was called Land of the Groks or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
And then it lasted the first season, and then first episode into the second season, and then they got canceled.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the guy that played Henson, I thought they dug him up.
Oh my gosh. I think that was the first thing I said when we got up. I was laughing, and Hannah goes, "What?" I was like, the guy who played Jim Henson was just perfect.
Yeah.
He was Jim
and he had
Henson.
The voice.
He had the voice.
He had everything.
He had the height. He had the face. Like, that man is just so. I don't know, maybe he's Mickey 19. But like he's a carbon copy of Jim Henson, and he does it perfectly. And those were my favorite scenes. I loved when he comes in to talk to Lorne, and he has this heartfelt moment. He's like, I believe that there is a place for high stakes puppetry on adult television, and he says it so sincerely. But then the more you think about it, the more you're like, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, but then you've never seen the Happy Time Murders.
No. If anyone was going to dig Jim Henson up, they should do it so that he can slap his son for that.
I was going to say, do you know who made that film, right?
It was his son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I actually really like that movie.
Do you really?
Yeah. I think it's funny.
So between this and Suicide Squad, you've got two kind of black marks on your record.
I think there's just something so twisted about that film that I enjoy.
I understand it. I think it would be worse if it was like the actual Muppets characters in it, and they didn't do that. Thank God. Like for the most part, it is original characters for the movie.
And that's what I think the novelty of that. They created its own little world, which I thought was great.
Yeah, I just think that it is much like I think that a lot of Deadpool is. I think what I said on that podcast was, it's like all of my worst kind of comedic. The first draft like jokes that you do to be shocking, and it doesn't have much stuff underneath that. And I think that was why it didn't work for me, because I was just like, well, I could do that, and if I can do it, it's obviously garbage. But
you got to love it when the murder weapon is a Boston Terrier for one of the.
That is funny.
I have a Boston Terrier, so I just think that's awesome.
There are funny things in it, but I think a lot of it gets glossed over by, oh, look at us, we're shocking and edgy, and it's puppets. And it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I still thought it was funny.
You're allowed to enjoy things I don't enjoy. That's
good.
Perfectly,
that's good. I'm glad. Thank you.
That's perfectly
just
fine.
As long as you don't judge me for it.
Judge. I'm a Christian. We never do. Yes, I know. That was the joke.
Yeah, that is. No pun intended.
Man, Willem Dafoe, I thought was great. You know what's interesting?
Yeah. You can feel the tension in that control room too, like right before when they have to go either to the tape or go live.
Yeah.
And it hangs down to just like every second.
Yeah.
And you're almost on your edge of your seat going, in the back of your mind, you know that it's going to go live because obviously that's the show and that's where it started. But there's always that, well, did they go to tape that week? Or
right,
did it go through? Or, really what happened?
Yeah.
And,
and the constant cutting back to the image of the tape being spooled up and like them having it ready and that being on Lauren's mind the whole time. This is very much a point of view film for the most part. It is Lauren's point of view on everything. Right. And I think that it does such a good job, the sound design as well. It does such a good job of getting you, as it goes on, everything gets louder and more cacophonous, and it builds and builds and builds until that moment where he snaps and just walks out and covered in blood. And I thought that the use of that sound to kind of give you an idea of his mental state was so wonderfully done. And it kind of ebbs and flows, but it is kind of on this upward trajectory the whole way.
Uh-huh.
And so you can kind of feel him like when he feels like, oh, it's gonna be okay. Oh wait, no, I got to deal with this now, and it's gonna be fine maybe. Oh, I got to deal with this now, and it, like just kind of and it really builds the tension in a way that like you normally don't see except in a horror movie.
Right.
It's doing that level of tension building with a bunch of people making jokes.
Yeah.
That's so hard.
Yeah. And just the way that it's done, just fantastic. And, we talked about this before. All the performances in that are just, not one stands out to the other. And it's just great to see that they took the time to cast it the right way. Like,
yes.
But the only person from the original Saturday Night Live cast that read the scripts and everything was Dan Aykroyd. Nobody else did.
That doesn't surprise me.
It shouldn't, but I thought the people that were like, I thought Chevy Chase would have a little bit more involvement, or Dan Aykroyd would have a little bit more involvement because, well, Jane Curtin's still alive. I thought the people that were still around would have more of a say in this, and it's kind of sad that they don't. Or maybe it's just best that they don't.
Well, I think that if you involve the people who were there, they're all going to be trying to
make it their own story. Okay.
Or they're going to want to kind of downplay any of their own embarrassing moments or whatever. Like if Chevy Chase was involved, he absolutely would not have let them do the thing where Mr. Television gives him what for. Like he would have been like, no, I don't like that. That's not what happened. I showed him, even if that's not what happened. Because as we know,
I believed it happened that way.
Yeah, because Chevy Chase is but the thing with that, all of that is that I think isolating the stories from the people and being able to build the movie around that, whether or not it's true, because I think you brought up, you did some research and not all of this is like 100% true, but
most of it is. So like the one thing that's notable is when John Belushi's supposed to come out on stage for the opening of the show, there's a 38-second pause in the movie when in actuality he did not pause at all. He came right out.
Right. Okay.
But is that something that somebody's going to pick apart on this film? Absolutely not. If you do, you have no life.
The thing, well, allow me to pick it apart. So,
and you have no life.
Yeah. I know. But think about it. They have the whole thing is building to, are they going live or are they going to tape? And they have that big build, that crescendo, and then Willem Dafoe says, go live. But then they have it again.
Belushi signed his contract. That was the whole thing building up to that, too.
Well, right. But at that point, he had said, or no, he was out on the ice. So they left you on a cliffhanger. But the thing is, building that in, I think it just kind of Return of the King'd it and had an extra ending we didn't need. because what happens is we have that big build and the numbers counting down, and this is it. It's going live now or it's not. That's it.
Yeah.
And then they go live and John's not there. And it just seems like an unnecessary addition. To me, like I think that the go live thing was the big, it's either happening or it's not.
But they sat there and waited.
And adding another 38 seconds for Lauren to be panicked about whether or not John's coming. It didn't feel like the, I don't know. That was the only thing that I was like, why did we do this? If I thought it had actually happened when I watched it, so I was like, okay, well if that's what happened, then yeah, it's good tension. But if it's not what happened, then it seems like an unnecessary addition.
Okay, I see your point on that.
It's not bad. I just think it was unnecessary.
No, and I like the guy that played Carlin.
Yes.
Like, I know you don't like George Carlin to begin with, and I do.
I think George Carlin's very funny. I just think he's not as smart as he thinks he is.
Right, and the Saturday Night showed that.
Yes. Yep.
Beautifully, I might add.
Yes. The fact that he's in his dressing room completely unable to speak because of lockjaw, and Dan Aykroyd just comes in, let me get some finger love in there. I'm going to... What was the thing that... Every time we saw Dan interacting with Rose or Rosie,
they had an affair.
He was saying something specific. It was like, "You're dealing with a certified blah blah blah." Was that a reference to a skit that he had on that first episode or something? Like he was practicing lines. I couldn't quite figure out what he was saying each time because it wasn't the focus. It was always kind of just there.
I guess Lauren had an open marriage too with Rose.
Well, yeah, and they kind of go into that a little bit where she married him, and then she realized that she wasn't the wife; she was just the writer. And Lauren's whole life was built around
making that show work,
doing the show, doing some form of art, and that's all he really cared about. And so, she said, we're married, but I'm not your wife. It's all like a, and I'm sure that he's kind of like torn two ways on that. But you don't have time to think about your marriage when you're doing a show like this. You just don't. And I mean. Realistically, though, I mean, if we're being honest, if this is 70% true, the 70%
which it
of
probably
the things that
is.
Are here, if that's true,
like
he got lucky.
There's very few things that I saw that differed from reality.
He got lucky. Lorne Michaels is not some genius. Anyone can take a bunch of buns off the street and try to put something together. You're just lucky when it works.
Because the part where he took the writer from the bar next to that happened for season 2 of Saturday Night Live, not the first season.
I'm still not sure. Okay, there's another one. Why bring that in? He was trying to find John,
just
right?
yeah.
At that point?
Well, he was trying to get out of the building too because he had just been sprayed with the Julia Child's blood, which that skit is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's the one SNL skit that everybody knows, regardless of when you were born, what era of that show you watched. They all know that Julia Child skit that Dan Aykroyd did.
Yeah.
That is
even
famous.
I know it, and I don't even watch Saturday Night Live.
Right. Well, I stopped watching it a long time ago just because it's just not good.
Yeah. Well, they did have that really great Alexa for old people sketch.
Okay.
Which I love dearly because it's one of the most innocent things they've done.
Oh, okay.
I like comedy that pushes the envelope. The problem is it's always my envelope they're pushing.
And then there's me. I'm so desensitized. There is no. I have no envelope. It's been burned to shreds.
The thing is, I think that one of the reasons I wanted to do this show, for instance, was because I listen to podcasts that review movies and video games and all that stuff. It is all done by people who are comedians because I want to laugh. I want to enjoy it. I want to have fun, right? But they can say awful things about Christians, and it's okay. One of the reasons I wanted to do this show was because I was like, well, I also would like to push the envelope, but why can people be mean to one group of people but not to another group of people? What's the deal with that?
That's just kind of the society we're living in now, and I accept it, but I don't like it.
I don't either. But that's why I was like, okay, well, let's do our own thing. We can do it. We can do whatever we want. And then I remember I have to make it a living.
Yeah, but then you pick me, who's not a comedian and just likes movies.
Yeah, but you are sufficiently grumpy enough to pick on people.
Yeah, I do that every day. That's nothing new.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that it's funny to look at Saturday Night Live as a counterculture show, given that it is now just the culture. And the counterculture movement of the 70s and stuff was
and I think the only person that didn't get a movie deal or something off of that original cast was Lorraine Newman.
Did Garrett Morris go on to do stuff?
Yeah, he was in the show Two Broke Girls for a while.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, among other things, like he did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. He has a lot of movies.
Yeah,
never mind.
He does.
He was in Who's Your Caddy?
And it's funny that I thought the kid that played him was his son, and it's not. They just have the same last name.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, they're no relation at all. Which is that's great.
Huh. Sometimes it just works out that way.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, I want to see this again. I want to see it a couple more times because I really want to.
And for anything to see what you missed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely to figure out what the heck Dan Aykroyd was saying. But also, there were so many throwaway things that were just happening in the background and interactions between people who were playing members of the crew that weren't they weren't highlighted for more than a second. Like when Lauren goes and gets the new lighting director from the other show.
Oh yeah,
and the guy's like, all right, well, at least send me a postcard, you freaking jerk. He totally, it's just a throwaway thing and it's in the background. You can almost kind of not hear it because they're walking away from it and stuff. But there's so many of those things that are really great. And I think also very much New York.
Yeah, and I think that was supposed to be a play on the Gong Show too, which cause the set looked exactly like that.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah. I guess they couldn't get the rights to it. Yeah.
Well,
where's the rumpus room? That way.
Because I don't know. I think Chuck Berry's passed away now. Who's
I believe
the guy
so,
that
yeah.
had the Gong Show, and
that's right. Yeah.
Another great movie that you haven't seen, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Let's be honest. I've wasted my life, Andy.
Well,
I've seen none of the great movies, and also haven't done anything else.
But I've watched a ton of movies.
But at least you know the good ones. I'm over here just flailing around, going, "I love movies." And people are like, "You see this?" No. Oh my goodness.
That's okay.
This is a movie that I think is going to be a great example for people who are studying the art of filmmaking because it is a great film in and of itself and a look at the behind the scenes production process and what you actually have to do to get great comedic minds in line. Good comedians are by and large some of the worst people you will ever meet, or the saddest. They're either the worst or the saddest. There is no.
Oh, so you fit both bills.
Yes. Now, if only I was funny. But the thing that I both loathed and loved was the honest portrayal of Lauren and Rosie basically just manipulating John Belushi.
Yeah.
The whole way through. And I thought that it also was, it's not pulling any punches on people being just awful, especially with Chevy Chase, who of course we know is a but Hannah was talking about how bad she felt that they were making fun of John Belushi in the movie. She's like, given how he died, she's like, the fact that he died I think it was in a hotel room or in an apartment, but he was there with a prostitute, and he grabbed her hand while he knew he was dying and said, please don't leave me. And she left him anyway and robbed him at the same time.
Yeah.
And like, these people were not living happy lives. None of them were okay.
No, well, and that is, SNL has a history of that with Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yep.
And watching the behind or like his life story it's not pretty.
And Andy Kaufman's,
Yeah.
And I think I know more about Jim Carrey playing Andy Kaufman than I do about Andy Kaufman.
Oh, because you
himself.
watched that documentary like I did.
Yes. Yeah.
That in itself is annoying.
I look, I had the thought on the drive home last night. I love entertainment. I love movies.
Yeah.
I love stand-up comedy. I find joy not just in laughing and enjoying the art as it is, but also studying how it's done. Because for me, that has always been a way to get at something deeper than just the surface level. And if there's anything I hate, it's small talk. I hate small talk. I don't care what you think about the weather. How's your relationship with your dad? Like that's the kind of person I am. And so, for me, the intensity of the creation of art, which is what this movie is really about, is such a fascinating thing.
Yeah, but this is so different from Joker 2 that we saw last week, which is supposed to be art as well.
Right.
And this is actually watchable.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
And you said this earlier today too, that you really, the more you thought about it, or last night you said this, that you just didn't like Joker 2. I still liked it, but will I watch it again? Probably not.
Yeah. And I think that's where I'm at. Like, there were things I liked about it, but it wore me out by the end of it. And so I don't think I'll ever go back to it. Because I know the feeling I got, but it was when he was on the phone calling her after she left the courtroom. And I was just like, I think I'm over this. I think I'm done. It's not bad. And it doesn't help that I'm not a musical person.
And so is everybody else,
but I think I'm just over it. Yeah. And
because I drop kicked that thing into a small theater this week with no hesitation at all.
It's not doing well. It's
got 0 for the day right now.
Man, you want to talk about laying an egg? A $200 million art house film that doesn't even pay any sort of attention to what the people who would be going to see that movie might want.
And I'll say it again: if Joker had a fourth of the chaos that Saturday Night did, it would have been a more watchable and enjoyable film.
Yeah.
And and doesn't have Joaquin Phoenix in it either. So that's
small blessings.
See, that's what I was going for.
Yeah, I just to loop back quickly, if I may,
sure,
to what I was.
Sorry, I broke your train of thought.
No, that's okay. You those were good thoughts too. I don't want to lose those. But for every bit of joy that these people have brought into our lives, Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd and all these people, I think it is concerning to know that they have made, for every person they've made laugh, they've made 10 cry in person, just being awful. And maybe Dan Aykroyd's not as bad. Chevy Chase certainly is, as we know. He is a but I think that if you're going to go into the arts, if you're going to go into the entertainment sphere, please, for the love of all that is good and holy, have some humanity. Try not to be like these people, because Saturday Night Live became an institution, but they all needed to be in an institution. They needed help. And that's a depressing thing to take from this comedy, which I love, by the way. Just so we're clear, I love this movie.
So here's where I go with that. Just how sad that Saturday Night Live has fallen since that early first television broadcast of that, and just how awful it's gotten and just unwatchable in my opinion. And I don't think that's me just getting older. I think just the writers that they have are just god awful.
Well, and often most comedy writers now are self-inserting complaints from their own lives rather than actually trying to be funny.
See, and that doesn't work.
No. And look, comedy is derived from, one, other people suffering. That is, comedy is tragedy happening to someone else. But also
Wild robot.
from a look at something that is silly or hypocritical in society and goofing off about it. I'm a Christian, but I laugh at Baptist jokes. I was raised Baptist. There's some funny stuff. We're all talking about bringing yourself up by your bootstraps and make sure you deal with your own problems, but also potluck. And if you could bring something, that would be great. There are anachronisms and things that we can point out and laugh at. But there's things that are done. There's jokes that are done because it's in good fun and because we realize something is silly. And then there's jokes that are meant to destroy something. And I think that most of Saturday Night Live stuff now is, it's smash the patriarchy kind of bullcrap.
Yeah, but I think some of the best things I saw within like the last maybe 10 years was Alec Baldwin doing Donald Trump. Very funny. That
yeah.
I did like.
Yeah.
But as soon as that skit was over or sketch or...
I don't care.
I was done with the show. I would turn it off.
Right, yeah.
Because there was nothing left for me to see.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I think the best thing to come out of Saturday Night Live in the last, let's say, 10, 15 years, there's a guy named Alex Buono, who I don't know if he still does their stuff, but he would shoot all of their like film parodies.
Okay.
So anytime they had like a new movie come and it was all a joke or whatever, Alex Bono would do it. And he did a class that I took, and he talked about how he apes the styles of all these different cinematographers and stuff. Okay. He's an incredibly talented man, and he does a lot of really, really good work. The jokes he's not responsible for, but he does really, really good work because he lives in California, I think, and flies to New York every week to shoot and then go back and do other stuff in California. Huh. So he's doing all of this on a weekly basis.
Wow. He's racking up the Flickr flyer miles.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That man, he's riding first class all the way.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's. I think he's. I don't know anything about him as a
human being.
As a human being, he could be a nice person. He could, like Chevy Chase, be a. But but I think that there's something to be said for the talent, and this movie did really make me start thinking a lot about what is the.
I need to look up
what's the merit of talent.
What happened to Michael O'Donoghue after
he died in '95, I think.
That's kind of sad.
He was a big part of National Lampoon. I think he was the original like head writer and illustrator and did a bunch of stuff for that. And so he did that before Saturday Night Live, actually. Okay. So I think National Lampoon started first.
Because I know there's a documentary on Netflix about National Lampoon that I've been told to watch too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's no doubt he was a gifted writer. I mean, he did a lot of stuff that resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah.
It just seems like he's almost as bad as Chevy Chase. Almost. Chevy Chase is worse.
I wonder if Robin Williams would fall into that category.
Robin Williams?
Yeah.
I think he fell more into the sad category.
That's what I thought from what we saw from Superman.
Yeah. He seemed like he genuinely wanted to make people... Chevy Chase wanted people to worship him. Robin Williams wanted to make people laugh. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. That's the difference. There's comedians who want to be recognized and told they're amazing and have their ego stroked. And then there are comedians who want to bring a little joy into the world because they can't stand how sad everything is. And I think Robin Williams is on that end and Chevy Chase is hard on the other. And then there's people who, kind of are somewhere on that spectrum who think they're God's gift to comedy and aren't, but also sometimes they do want to just make people. I think Will Ferrell's kind of probably in the middle there because.
See, but we were talking about that earlier. I watched that documentary with him, and I think it's Will and Harper, I think is what it's called.
Something like that, yeah.
And you won't agree with me on this just because we have different, political viewpoints on that kind of thing. But I really liked it. It does not paint Texas in a good light at all.
No. Neither did Bruno.
It was
or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Bruno was stupid.
Borat. Sorry.
Borat. I like. Bruno was horrible. Yeah. But I liked seeing Will Ferrell as a human being.
Yeah.
And even wanting to support his friend's choice, right or wrong, regardless of what your personal feelings on that are, he was there for his friends and traveled from New York to California stopping along the ways here and there, and most of the time was stopping along a highway with a cooler of beer and just having a couple of beers. Or there's a part where they're in a Walmart parking lot and seeing that human element of that to Will Ferrell, and that where he's not just such a complete bumbling idiot, was very appealing to me. And that's why there's a film that he did that I like called Stranger Than Fiction. And it's one that everybody hates.
I've talked about this. This is my favorite movie.
Right. And it's my favorite Will Ferrell film too, because it's not being him. It's not his normal. And I just love the fact that that film plays on so many levels to me, and his life is saved by his watch.
Right. Yeah. All things.
And it's got some great performances in it. And Maggie Gyllenhaal, I fell in love with her after seeing that film.
Me too.
And I wish he would do more stuff like that. So that's where I really like to see this documentary. But yeah, they stopped at the place in Fort Worth where like you eat the 72 ounces of steak.
Oh boy.
And everybody took pictures, and then they showed the Instagram postings on, what creature did Will Ferrell sit with, and what, all these awful, horrible things, but that's still a person.
Right. Yeah. No.
And I was just like, I almost wanted to move out of the state at that point. I'm like, I just can't go along with this hatred for people and you don't even know them.
Yeah.
Like, at least get to know them first before you don't like them.
I always get to know the people I don't like Chevy Chase. I know him really well.
Well,
no,
that's
no. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I really
dislike
don't.
the person for their actions, not for who they are.
Sure. Yeah. I'm trying to find what else O'Donoghue did. His biography is too long. It's too long.
I still think Chevy Chase was not the best person for Weekend Update. I think for
Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald, and I have a soft spot for Dennis Miller. I really like Dennis Miller's Weekend Updates.
I don't think I've seen Dennis Miller do Weekend Updates.
Yeah, he was. I still like him.
Okay, yeah.
And I just like his style of humor because it's very topical, and you have to have a brain to actually figure out some of his jokes. And a lot of people don't get him. Yeah. I still think the worst movie he ever did was going on Monday Night Football. Because like he was a co-host for a while, and I was like, oh my God, that's gonna go over like a lead balloon.
There is one delay button, and my finger is on it.
That woman was great too, and like I really liked to not like her.
The thing is, I think I liked her because I was just like, man, being the 70s and being in an office full of men that treat her like that and having that sort of gall, go get them, girl.
Yeah.
I like it. That being said, I don't think I need to hear anyone say clam diving ever again. I believe it's scooping for mollusks. It was a great line delivery. That was great. Anyway, I recommend for this movie.
Yes, I would. Yeah. I would recommend this is just about anybody.
Yeah, I think it's really good. It definitely, look, no matter what you think about the world, there will be something in here that offends you, and that's fine.
Yeah. It had me laughing, but like,
oh yeah,
a good majority of the film, so that's good.
It's a very, very funny film. It's a tight script. It's a wonderfully paced edit. It is it is film firing on all cylinders. So no complaints from me. Everything that I did complain about was merely because
you're picky.
I'm a prude. But I have news for you. I have good news for you, Andy.
Oh boy. Okay.
Good news. Very, very, very good news.
Craven the Hunter got bumped?
No, that would be bad news. What are you talking about?
No, that's good news.
No, Craven the Hunter is going to be an amazing film.
No, it's not.
What are you talking about?
And did you notice last night when that trailer came on screen, I just started laughing immediately?
Yes, yeah. But I don't know what's broken in my brain, but I genuinely think I'm going to enjoy Craven the Hunter.
I don't.
I think I'm going to. I think it's going to be. I think it's one of those movies I'm prepared to turn my brain off for.
No, it looks. The fact that it's gotten pushed around over the years says something right there. That it's going to be awful.
But on the other hand, he throws that guy into that stump and he splatters into a billion pieces and blood goes everywhere. And I love that.
And I timed it last night. The trailer pack at Cinemark was 24 minutes.
Yes, yeah.
So maybe they heard our podcast and go, maybe we should change that.
Do we have power?
I doubt
Do we
it,
have influence?
but I would love to think that we actually do. But the trailer that I took away, and I saw it before last night, was the Bob Dylan movie. Like, I really want to see that.
I think Bob Dylan's a real freaking
nut job.
He's stupid.
Yeah, but Timothy Chalamet is good at playing nut jobs.
Timothy Chalamet is a nut job. But
okay.
No,
anyway,
I think that movie will be good. I also just think that Bob Dylan was just a overall, whether the music was catchy or not, I think a loss for humanity more than he was a win.
Why is that?
Oh, just everything he believed is garbage.
Oh, okay.
I'm on a tear this week, Andy.
I actually went to see him in concert when I was in college.
I'm sure he's a very nice man.
Well, I didn't meet him. I just saw him.
You know, if you wanted him to be a certain thing, he didn't want to be that, but he was anyway. And I think that's nice. I think that's
okay.
No, I'm just kidding. That's this whole thing in the movie, dude. Every time a music documentary comes out, there's someone going, I can't be what everyone wants me to be," and I'm like, get over yourself. What is that? Did you write that down in the flyleaf of your Twilight book, you 8-year-old girl?
I'm still kind of waiting for the Kurt Cobain film.
I don't know if,
because the closest we've seen to that is a movie called Last Days that Gus Van Sant did, and it doesn't really come out and say that it was Kurt Cobain. It just very well hints at that.
Maybe when we're a little bit more removed from it, you know. I mean, like we just got
but that happened like 30 years ago now. Sure,
but I think you got to get to like 40 because the whole Queen, thing that was the 80s.
I liked Nirvana when they were popular. I can't listen to Nevermind now. I absolutely can't stand that album. I like Bleach and I like In Utero, the album before that and after that. Just for In Utero is such a great raw like punk album that started grunge, which I hate that term by the way. But I think I don't see the godlike complex that everybody gives Kurt Cobain. I just don't agree with it.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, like he's almost revered as a god for a guy that killed himself.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, people go nuts for him. I don't know. I don't know. The only Nirvana song I know is actually the Weird Al version, "Smells Like Teen Spirit,"
which is awesome.
Which is amazing. And the fact that they did the music video like on the same sets with the same janitor. Yeah, is just such a fun story. Anyway, Weird Al's the last American hero that we have. Yeah, because the guy who made Pop-Tarts died, so we're down to just Weird Al.
we're going to see him next July, my friend.
I'm so excited. But good news.
Good news.
Good news.
Yes, good.
Velma has been canceled. The Mindy Kaling starring animated series Velma that they never allowed Scooby-Doo to be in and is basically just
I never saw that.
It's such incredible garbage. Oh my god.
Well, Mindy Kaling just alludes to that automatically, so I don't like her at all.
I dislike most of the time saying, well, it's this person, so it's going to be garbage because everyone is capable of more than they are like from, when you're 10 years old, you're capable of more when you're 15. You're capable of more when you're 20. And at a certain point, maybe you're not capable of more, but it's like way down the line.
She's not capable
Mindy
of
Kaling's
more.
Not at that point. She could do something good. Instead, she's choosing to make inane garbage that spits in the face of everything that Scooby-Doo is simply because she can. And I don't understand. Why they, like, Fred, the whole thing with his character in this show is that he's an insecure alpha male, and maybe he's questioning his sexuality, and that's the whole thing. I'm just like, it's about mysteries with a dog. You morons. Yeah. God, why does everyone have to take everything that children love and twist it into some awful, twisted, stupid garbage?
Well, you know that the Scooby-Doo movie that was done, that first one, everybody associated with that hates it. And it was originally supposed to be something a lot more adultish.
Yes, because of, what's his freaking name? Guardians of the Galaxy director.
James Gunn.
James Gunn was the writer on it. And he wanted R-rated.
Right.
Yeah. And then they didn't do that for either of them.
Yeah, well, the second one is even. The first one I actually kind of like, just for the simple fact that the casting on that's good.
Yeah,
and the story's not horrible.
No.
And it's got Rowan Atkinson in it, and I love Rowan Atkinson.
Yes, yeah, Rowan Atkinson.
So, but the second one I saw like 15 minutes when Drew was watching it the one time. I'm like, nah, I'm out.
It's bad, but it's the one I saw first, so I have a soft spot for it.
Okay,
because
I understand that.
I love the little skeleton guys and them tossing their bones around and stuff. I just think that's funny, like, just slapstick kind of gags,
like Labyrinth, like the Fireys.
I haven't seen Labyrinth.
Okay.
But I thought that it was bad when I was a kid watching it, but thought it was it was dumb fun, and then I saw the first one and there's fart jokes, which still now as an adult I enjoy.
Yes.
So take everything that I've criticized with a grain of salt, but the movies are not great. But they were kids' movies, right, and they worked as kids' movies.
Yeah, but I would love to see the cut of that first one that is not a kid movie and see where that goes.
On one hand I would, and on the other hand, I just want people to leave things that are for kids alone. I really do.
I do get that.
And
so.
I'm torn on that because on one hand, the contrast of innocence and debauchery is funny in some states, but the not some states, but in some instances in some states, in Iowa, but never in Louisiana. But the thing that gets me is just that if you want to be raunchy and stuff, come up with your own stuff. Stop, because some kid is gonna luck into that. By chance, and the parents won't know it's for whatever reason at the video rental store, which doesn't exist anymore. It's now even easier with streaming. They just go, oh, it's a Scooby-Doo thing, and they watch it and they start seeing Velma having these horrible visions of people's eyes popping open and things like that, and the parents don't know because they're like, well, it's Velma, it's a Scooby-Doo thing, and it's not. Someone protect the kids. Someone.
So there's
someone with a red marker.
There's a movie too called Hoodwinked.
Hoodwink's great.
Right. So initially that was supposed to be an R-rated film.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
I would love to see the R-rated cut of that.
It works so well as the offbeat sort of thing.
Yeah.
It could totally work.
And the big bad wolf is Fletch.
Yep.
And I love that part with Twitchy with him like
the coffee.
The coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Hoodwinked. Hoodwinked 2 is not good.
Oh, I think I've saw it. I just don't remember it.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Just go back to the first one.
If it's gone, just give yourself that
and
nice
triple
breather.
G.
Triple G. Oh yeah. Oh goodness. How do you feel about a movie that is a cross between John Wick and Clue?
Ooh, were we pick the own ending?
Maybe.
Well, I like action films and I like freedom of choice. So, yeah, yes.
So it's called The Professionals. It's helmed by Chad Stahelski, who I don't really know that much about, but he's apparently done lots of stuff. He did a reboot of Highlander. But this movie, the Professionals, is essentially shooting in January in Scotland, so starting next year.
Okay.
And it's about a group of contract killers who are stranded in an English countryside estate when one of them is murdered and the remaining group has to solve the death.
Ooh.
So it is literally just Clue.
Which
I'm totally
with
on board
assassins.
with. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I hope that it's really, really silly. So yeah, it's such an odd thing to do, and this is the kind of stuff I'd like to see.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm good with that.
You made me aware of something earlier this week that both terrified and delighted me. Terrified? What's wrong with me?
You just don't want to say Terrifier.
I really don't. I'm trying to avoid it at all costs. Francis Ford Coppola apparently loved Joker for the Ado.
Yeah. Well, I sent you that.
Yeah. You sent that to me.
Because I was like, do
we
we really want Francis Ford Coppola endorsing Joker too? That might not be the person that you want on your side. And I love the fact that Todd Phillips has been going, oh, I'm done with DC. I'm done with DC. No, DC is done with you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But this is the thing, and this is the same way you get scammers to stay on the line when you want to waste their time. It's righteous indignation.
Okay.
That's all it is. And they go, you're imagining with me. You go, no. I gave you the code. You haven't been able to log in. We've been at this for 40 minutes. I haven't given them the right code. The whole time I was messing with them. I have a 40-minute phone call it's recorded of me messing with one of these scammers. And at the end, he He was going to sodomize my dad, he said, which was a very mean thing to say. But to be fair, I was being very annoying.
I got that when I was doing customer service with AT&T back in the day.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm not going to get into that one. It's boring. That nobody will care.
Well, Steven Soderbergh said that he saw Megalopolis. And he said, wow, this might be the craziest thing ever shot on American soil.
And Steven Soderbergh said that?
Yes, certainly one of the most sustained acts of pure imagination I've ever seen. I dreamt about it all night. It was inspiring.
Has he not watched his own film Schizopolis? Because that's an undecipherable movie, in my opinion.
I have not seen that. Steven Soderbergh's he's an odd duck. But he's made some great stuff and some stuff that's like, I don't know if I get it, but good on you for doing it.
You know what? He lost me when he was all about supporting like video on demand and bypassing theaters.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, he was on board with that like 100%, and he was not going to make movies for theaters anymore. And I was like, fine, whatever you do, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is shooting them on iPhones now, so it's not like he's the percentage of budget. Actually,
yeah, but you said that's her doing 28 years later too.
Yeah, 28 years later, but it's. I think I think it was called Unsane was the film that he made with the iPhones, and it was older iPhones. So
that one I liked.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I saw that Temple Mall.
All shot on iPhone. But
the story to that's interesting. So
yeah, and I think that's really what he was trying to prove was that story is more important than the gear that you shoot on.
It is, but don't bypass theaters, moron.
Yes, no, I totally agree with that. But yeah, I wanted to bring up Joker for one reason. I sent you a video. Did you have a chance to watch it?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But you were talking about it last night, so I figured it was what you were talking about to me last night.
Yes, there is a video of what I assume is a Joker Folie à Deux premiere night, and there is video of Joaquin Phoenix leaning over to Lady Gaga saying it's horrible, and she says, "Don't say that." And then he says, "Do you think so?" And she goes, "No, it's not." He says, "Why?" She goes, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "I love it." And then he looks very in this footage, and I'll put it on our Instagram. You can find it at Grand Review Pod. He looks very much like, I wish I wasn't here. I hate this movie.
Then why did you do it?
Well, that's the thing is, and I saw someone post a comment on this video saying, like, look, you don't know what it's going to be at the end. You don't. Like, you're as an actor, you're on set for weeks and weeks and weeks doing all these things, doing these musical numbers. The edit can make it anything. It could be really good, and maybe you believed in the idea, but then once it's all put together and Todd Phillips has said, you know what, don't cut a single second of dancing. Not 1 second. I don't care how much time we waste. Then you look at it and go, oh, it's turned out badly.
Yeah, if they cut all that out, the movie would be like an hour and 20 minutes.
And it should be. But I think it's very interesting that, now Joaquin Phoenix has been in hot water for kind of dunking on projects and leaving them. He recently left a project, and I think we talked about this.
But you said like it turned into like a gay porn film?
It was essentially supposed to be an NC-17 gay love story with what they said were some of the most, I can't remember the exact word they used, but basically some of the most confronting male on male sexual activity ever put to film was the idea.
I don't want to see that.
And he dropped out of it at the last moment. And I don't know if it's because
that's why I have respect for him for doing something like that.
I do too. Yeah, but I mean,
there's like 20 other things that trumps that because he's nuts.
But that's the thing. Okay, so that brings us back to the question I was asking earlier. What is the value of talent? There is talent, and we want people who are good at their jobs to do the performances and the jokes and all of those things. But if they're bad people, why do we put up with that just to get a little bit of entertainment? Are we that needing to break away from reality that we're willing to set aside someone mistreating people around them in order to sit down for 2 hours and giggle?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, will Lionsgate recover from their rough 2024? So they've had Megalopolis.
I don't know. I think they're banking on Best Christmas Pageant Ever actually doing something.
That's basically a Christian film, isn't it?
Yeah, but it doesn't look like a Christian film.
No.
I give that movie a lot of props for that.
Yeah, it doesn't look
because it's going to bring people in that want to see like a nice holiday family film.
Right.
but it's almost subversively a Christian film. But I really want to see it. Like the trailer for it is great.
I fully believe in sneaky evangelism, and this is if that's what this is. No, I'm serious. Like one of the things that I always wanted to do as a filmmaker was I want to make movies that I don't want to make God's Not Dead. You know, I don't want to make I don't want to make something that's just like I will beat you with the Bible until you believe. I would rather instead.
That's the problem I have with most Christian films.
Me too.
Is that I want to see a Christian film that doesn't do that.
Right, and also they think that having a camera on a dolly makes it a good shot. You can't just dolly all the time. You make a choice. But anyway, the thing that I always thought was, well, we should have characters who have these values intrinsically, and they can reference, you know, something, or like you can absolutely have lines of dialogue that are people talking that are actually kind of scriptural quotes, and that's the inspiration for a character making the right choice or something, and you put it in there because it's like that has value without it being like, and now a quote from Philippians we shall now read. Like, you know, you don't have to do that, which is the thing that a lot of, and I can tell you, okay, I can actually tell you why this happens. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before, but I wrote a full-length feature, and it was about a sports person doing a specific thing. There are certain things I cannot reveal, but he was doing. There's this inspiring story of this athlete, and he was a Christian, and that was a big influence on him and how he faced adversity. I wrote the script and tried to kind of inject it with some imagery and some things that took it above, like, you know, the standard, like, the standard idea of let's tell the story plot for plot, and then he meets with his pastor every third scene, you know, and I didn't want that. So I actually wrote dialogue that was scripture but doesn't have the reference. And so while people are having these conversations, this stuff is kind of being slipped in. It's part of their vernacular because they are Christians. That was the idea. Was it's just, this is the kind of stuff you would just kind of flippantly say because you know the word. And so the note came back, but at the end of it, I love it, from the guy who hired me to write it. I love it. We're going to do a reading of the script in Austin. I need you to go in and put verses in wherever you can fit them. And I said, there are verses all throughout it. And he goes, no, I need them to say what the reference is. And the reason is because producers of these movies know that if they want to get funding, having it say Romans 8:12 gets people to react with, oh, it's so powerful. And I kid you not, he was dead on. He said that would be the response, and people at the very end, like, it ends with a scripture quote. In the,
and I
the
think
draft
that's
that
horribly
I wrote.
pretentious, and that's why I don't like those films.
Someone actually stood up and goes, oh, when it's referenced scripture there, that was so powerful. I was like, no, no, like scripture. There's power in the word. I believe in that. Whatever, but the idea that we have to be on the nose about it, and we can't, because it was there. There was actually more scripture in the draft I did before I replaced those lines of dialogue. There was actually more in there before that. And I just think that's why Christian films don't resonate with people, because it feels like a sermon. And you can tell a story. Story is the way that Jesus used parable. You know, like he used it all the time to convey ideas, and you can do that. And Jesus also quoted scripture while telling parables, but he was speaking to a crowd. He was not a movie.
Well, he kind of was for his day. That's kind of how I look at it.
He certainly was. He was more. Yeah, it was like he was the Taylor Swift of his day. I tell you what, the crowds that he drew were insane. Except, I guess he wasn't like Taylor Swift in that he was Jesus.
Yeah.
But Paramount Pictures. This is a thing that still exists. They're making a Running Man remake. You know about
with
this. Edgar Wright,
the pretty boy, Glenn Powell.
Yeah. So
and Edgar Wright. Yeah.
They apparently.
And they're supposed to go more off the book than like the original movie did.
Yes, yeah. So that's what I've heard. They are releasing it November 21st to 2025. It now has a release date, so we know it's coming. I just rewatched Baby Driver this week with my wife. Hadn't seen it before, and I was just like, oh crap. I really love Edgar Wright. I forgot about that. Like, he's so good.
Just got to take a weekend and watch the Coronado trilogy.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, we're gonna do it. Once she graduates, man, there are so many movies. Like, I can finally start getting through the list, because it's like if I watch the movie on my own, then I have to watch it again, and I like to space it out a couple years, you know. But yeah, that happened. But also, the Naked Gun reboot has been delayed.
It was supposed to come out next August.
So July 18th, 2025 was the original one, and now it's August 1st.
Okay, so
according to Joe
that.
Blow, I don't know.
That's going to be the most oddest film ever from how it sounds on paper, though, because your main guy in that is Liam Neeson.
I think it's actually an inspired choice in some ways, because if he plays it straight like Leslie Nielsen did, because Leslie Nielsen further on in his career, you started to see him playing up the goof, a little more, and he doesn't do that in the first Naked Gun. And so if Liam Neeson can do that, I think it'll be really good.
And Weird Al Yankovic is in the first Naked Gun film.
That's right, yeah. They're not here for you, Frank. Weird Al is on the plane. Did I ever tell you about the time I was in California and I was driving down the coast and I saw the domed buildings that he goes, everywhere I go, something reminds me of her.
Oh, no.
I saw those and I laughed for a solid 30 minutes straight. I looped back around to take a picture and send it to my mom. I was like, look, it's the buildings.
Actually, I like all three of those originals just because that's when spoofs were good.
Yes. Yep. They went completely off the rails when that writing duo who did all the disaster movie.
Those are horrible.
Yeah, just awful garbage. But yeah, Wright said about the Running Man remake, it will be closer to the original novel, saying, I like the film, but I like the book more, and they didn't really adapt the book. Even as a teenager, when I saw the Schwarzenegger film, I was like, oh, this isn't the book at all. And I think
it's not.
Yeah. He said, I think nobody's done that book. So when that came up, I was thinking, and Simon Kinberg says, do you have any interest in the Running Man? I said, you know what? I've often thought that book is something crying out to be adapted. Now, that doesn't mean it's easy.
Yeah.
But if there's anyone I trust to do it, it's
Edgar Wright.
Yeah, for sure. And the biggest tragedy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not the death of Iron Man. It is the fact that he didn't get to do Ant-Man. And then, like, I forget what director they brought in to do it, but it's like, it feels like Edgar Wright light.
Yeah,
like
it
this
does.
the DNA is there because of his work on it in pre-production. But boy, it falls flat.
Yeah,
it falls flat. And so anyway,
I do like to Last Night in Soho, the last film he did.
I want to go back and see it because it had such a different reaction. Baby Driver was universally loved,
right?
And then Last Night in Soho people did not like
it. It's a different kind of film too, and it's very noirish. And I really like his take on noir. Like it's really good.
Yeah, I like noir stuff,
but
like
it's also slow. It's not a very fast moving film, and I think that's the other thing, the reason that people didn't like it.
If I had to like think about the main reason, because Edgar Wright stuff is always so fast.
Right. This isn't.
Yeah.
But it's still it's a great story.
Is it slow, but is it metered in a way that feels right for the story?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say yes to that.
Okay. Well, I definitely, it's one of those ones I wanted to pick up this week, but I have been working my little fingers down to the bone doing editing. So, but all right, well, that's all the news I had. Do you have anything else you wanted to share?
I watched on Max this week the Salem's Lot remake.
Oh yeah,
and
how was that?
I have the unpopular opinion. I actually liked it.
Oh really?
Like the stuff I've been reading on it has just been ripping it to shreds.
Huh.
And for a couple of reasons, and I can understand why. It's not the 1971 that Tobe Hooper did.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's very different from the book, which I almost kind of expected at this point. But the basic story is there. The basic characters are there. And there's, toward the end of it, it's actually really cool how, the whole movie is a vampire invasion starting in a small New England town. Huh. And by the end of close to the end of the film, all the residents are actually at the drive-in in the trunks of their cars waiting for night to come. And that was something different and a different take on that I really enjoyed. And I thought it was cool to see something like that. So, and I still like vampire films. And this one is, at least it's not Twilight, where they shimmer in the sunlight. And like these ones, when they get the sunlight, they explode like they're supposed to.
Yep.
I really liked it. I thought it was cool. And then I saw a Smurfs movie for next Valentine's Day.
There's another Smurfs movie?
Yeah, there is. Because remember, I said this on one of the other episodes. Like Valentine's Day next year is going to be loaded because it's Captain America, the new Bridget Jones film, and Smurfs, which is actually a really good.
It's a great slate for the theater.
Right.
Sure.
But there's something for everybody there. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
But I'd rather get hit with a slate than have to watch Smurfs.
Yeah. We're not going to do that for the podcast. I'm
thank
telling
God.
you that right now. I'm
thank
not
God.
watching that thing. No way.
Oh, his mercies are new every morning.
Yes. It got pushed to July.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because they think it guess it's going to be more of a summer film. And there's too many kid films, and it's a smart move on Sony's part. The one smart thing they did this year. Because they got Paddington in Peru and the Dogman movie coming out so close to each other in January.
Yeah,
and
that
then
would be very...
Yeah, it's all going to cannibalize its own audience. So they pushed it way off to July, which is good.
Are there any other kids movies coming out around that time?
No.
Well,
there is
very smart move. Sony, you did one good. You did one good this year. Good for you.
Yeah. Wolves.
I think that there are a lot of people there who have jobs that shouldn't.
I think that's most studios, actually.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny. I was reading something earlier today, and I wish I could remember what movie it was about. But there's times where studio interference absolutely helps the movie, and then there's times where it doesn't. And it just comes down to the fact that no one can be right all the time, right? But then again, I think about, so it was actually because of Saturday night. Saturday night, Lauren had an idea for what the show would be, and he was going to see it through, and he was going to figure it out, and he would have figured it out whether or not they had interfered. But they were trying to interfere and make it more palatable, whatever. Like that was kind of a lot of the feedback he was getting. He's like, nope. And in that case, they were wrong. Obviously, Saturday Night is still a huge success.
It's an institution.
And so there's that. But then on the other hand, there's times where the studio does need to step in and be like, hey, maybe we should probably have less musical numbers in Joker because
did Warner Brothers do that?
So Todd Phillips refused to talk to James Gunn and the rest of the DC people.
Oh yeah.
Just refused to talk to them outright. Also ignored a lot of the notes from Warner Brothers, from what I understand.
Right.
So
I read that too.
That's what I've read. I don't have any firsthand knowledge of that, but that's what I've read.
I believe that.
I do too, because I think, Todd Phillips, like I said, he made Hangover. I don't think he's exactly a person that I would get along with.
So I'm curious too, because of this whole debacle with Joker 2, if Todd Phillips' career is over.
No, I don't think so. I think he's going to have a smaller budget on the next thing he does.
Yeah.
He's definitely not going to give him $200 million.
No way.
Also, how did that movie cost $200 million?
Joaquin, Lady Gaga. I said that last week.
I know, but it just seems like still, even with that, how is it $200 million? Because even if I think she got 12 and he got 20. That was what I read.
Okay. Where's the rest of it go?
Yeah, where did the rest of it go?
Hookers
Andy?
and blow?
Probably. But the question is, was it Gaga or Joaquin ordering them?
Or was it Todd Phillips?
Or was it was probably Todd Phillips. Yeah.
Maybe that's why the film turned out the way it did.
You saw all the cocaine in Saturday Night.
Yeah.
It's like comedy is fueled by drugs, apparently.
Was the first AD was the one that actually directed this movie?
Yes, probably. Todd Phillips is back there like, dance more! Oh my gosh.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I don't think Todd Phillips is getting that same budget for a while.
No.
Like he could absolutely come back. Joker was a big hit. He still has some power, but he will have to listen to notes a little more.
It's got to be something along the lines of what The Hangover was, or some kind of raunchy comedy.
We'll give you $40 million if you make us, 500, 600 million off of that budget. Then we'll give you another chance to do your art crap.
Right.
That's the conversation that will be happening.
He almost kind of reminds me now of the character from Entourage, the Billy Wilder character, the crazy director.
Yes. Yeah.
That's exactly who I picture.
I've barely seen any of Entourage, but I have seen that.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's got to be him.
Yeah. There are times where I can, man, like I said a million times, I love movies. I really do. I love this stuff. And I love the creation of it. Like, that's why I do it. I don't get to do a lot of narrative stuff like I want to. But even the commercial things, it's like there's the fun of creating something from scratch and just making it work.
So
and
I'm
I
curious,
love that. But I do think that most of the people that it draws are awful.
I'm curious then what you think of the trailer for Here. Have you seen that yet?
That's the one where is it all in one room?
Yeah.
It's the Robert Zemeckis film.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will be good, but it certainly will be interesting. Robert Zemeckis has never done anything boring.
That's probably going to be our first like getting into almost the holiday season that comes at the beginning of November.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see what people's reaction is going to be to that.
Well, Robert Zemeckis has been playing around with digital people for a while. I mean, the Beowulf movie, which hilarious to watch.
The Christmas Carol they did with Jim Carrey.
Yep. Which I don't like, but is good.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
Like
the whole rotoscope animation too just kind of gets on my nerves after a while.
It's just in Uncanny Valley. I just think it wasn't there when he did that, but he took a big swing, and I respect that. Todd Phillips took a big swing, and I respect it on the level that it's a big swing, but I don't respect anything about how it turned out. But
I still like that Robert Zemeckis did Death Becomes Her.
I forgot that was Robert Zemeckis. Yeah,
I wish he would do another film like that.
Yeah, this one it's
catered to old people.
Well, Robert Zemeckis is, so I don't know if you can really blame him for making movies for himself. But it's Tom Hanks, and is it Meg Ryan?
No,
Meg Ryan.
It's the same woman that was in Forrest Gump.
Robin Wright. That's her name, Robin Wright.
And then actually Colin Hanks plays a younger version of Tom Hanks.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So the premise, the story covers the event of a single spot of land and its inhabitants, spanning from the past well into the future. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I have no idea if this will be any good, but I do kind of like slice of life movies a little bit. I think
Boyhood. Boyhood is the best one that ever did that.
I was in that too.
Really?
Yeah. There's when he does his art show at the end. I'm in the background. You can see me turn around and like gesture to someone.
Oh, I got to go back and watch that now just to see that.
I was being obnoxious. I wasn't supposed to turn around. Do that, but I wanted to swing my face towards camera. Extras are bad people.
See, like you got to like meet Richard Linklater then. So
well, I was on set with them. You don't get to talk to them. That's the thing.
Right.
Is if you're an extra, you are essentially a moving prop.
Yeah,
that's all you are.
I know how that goes.
And sit back there, shut up, don't make noise.
Right.
And if you need to talk on like during the scene, you do this. Say watermelon cantaloupe, but don't actually say it out loud.
Right.
Which just means that you're stuck there going like, I'm here for 12 hours and I don't get to talk.
Well, because Jessica and I a couple of weeks ago went to the 30th anniversary screening of Dazed and Confused at the Paramount Theater in Austin, and it was great. Other than the people that were sitting right in front of us, the most obnoxious people in movie history.
Worse than the people the little girl who insulted your wife.
Oh yeah,
really?
No, this was they were drunk, they were stupid,
Oh.
and they were having a fight in front. Like, well, I'm trying to watch like one of my favorite movies of all time. And like anything that one character said, they yelled and screamed, and just completely annoying.
That's awful.
And and even like they didn't have the big stars from it, but they had like a lot of the minor characters there. And it was cool to hear their story. Like that's the stuff that I live for. That for the DVD extras that I want to see.
Yep.
That was right in front of me,
Yeah.
and I couldn't enjoy it because of these freaking idiots that were in front of me that wouldn't keep their mouth shut. You're gonna have to edit that.
No, I think I just got the ing. Sorry, my button time is
if
not
I'm
so
gonna
good.
get censored, I'm gonna say it.
I'm sorry, I was a real. Okay, all right, that's it for the button today. I'm done. Oh goodness. Well, I'm sorry. That sucks.
No, but watching that movie, like, and hearing the stories in that just were really cool. And I love stuff like that. And I still really want to like sit down and talk with Richard Linklater on the show.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of questions.
I do too. Like, you think you can help me get in the door? Like, I want to make movies. I said, no, stop asking.
I said this after to my wife, and I'm still going to probably ask you at some point, like, I want to sit down and write my story with you.
Oh, yeah.
And not even to like see about getting it as a film, but that would be cool.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff that's happened in my life would be actually make something that somebody would watch other than myself.
Start gathering notes.
Okay.
Because I'm down to talk about it.
Yeah. So what else? Wicked tickets went on sale this week, and Gladiator 2.
Oh my goodness! Apparently, Wicked is selling like crazy
and
across
it is here.
the U.S. Is it?
Yeah. I looked at those numbers today real quick, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Really? It's that?"
People
I'm
love
like,
Wicked.
wow.
But this is you
That's
told me
great,
last
though.
night. This is 2 hours and
2
40
hours
minutes,
and 40 minutes of your life that you won't get back.
and it's only part one.
Right.
Kill me now.
And then talking to the head of our film buyers today, he saw Gladiator 2 already, which I'm very envious of. Yeah.
Did he say it was good?
Yeah.
Okay.
He said it's fun, it's entertaining, it's just like the first one.
Okay. I want to go back and rewatch the first one. I haven't seen it in years, so yeah.
Yeah. So I'm and that went on sale this week too.
Sweet. Pick up your tickets. It's grandavenuetheaters.com.
Right.
Yep. So
or the app that we have too.
That's right. Yeah, you can download the app on the App Store.
Yep.
You can't download our app, but you can find us at Grand Review Pod on Facebook and Instagram, which, let's be honest, you already have downloaded.
And then, so I guess next week's going to be our horror episode because you're coming back and watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre
That's
tonight.
right.
And Hannah's coming?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, Jessica's coming. Like, we've already seen it a couple of times.
I'm sure you have.
But I haven't watched it here yet, so I'm like, and we're the only ones in there right now.
Sweet. Well, I'm sure more people will come because it's it's one of those things.
Yeah,
that's the kind of thing I think that people like last minute they go, I got to get tickets for that. It's showing tonight at 10. That's perfect.
And then City of Austin actually declaimed today, October the 11th, as Texas Chainsaw Massacre Day because it's the 50th anniversary. The restaurant Hooper's in Kingsland is having a big to-do at the end of the month, and they're going to have some of the people from the original film out there.
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm hoping to go out and take my poster and get it signed.
You nerd.
As stupid as it may sound, that's one of the reasons why I moved to Texas.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because I'm like, it's where Texas Chainsaw Massacre was made. I got to go work there.
Now, how did you figure that out? What gave it away? I'm just kidding. All right. Well, that'll do us for this week.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Go see us Saturday night if you can.
Yeah.
It's really good. And then don't forget that if you can't go see Saturday night, it's not at Grand Avenue, but it is at other places. Maybe it'll get picked up here. We'll keep you updated on that.
Keeping our fingers crossed.
Worst case scenario, you can always go onto your computer and stream, or your computer, your TV, whatever, and stream G-Force, which you should do. It's the best movie that's ever been made. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you
at the movies. Take care, y'all.